We welcome you to this special edition of the Plate Meeting here at Close Call Sports. Our guest is Dale Scott as we celebrate the life of Jim McKean, and he passes away at the age of 73. Dale Scott worked the 1993 All-Star Game, which Jim McKean had to plate, and was also on McKean's crew in 1995. Dale, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, it's always good to be with you guys on today. A little bit of a sad situation, but it's a pleasure to be here.
There are not many guys that take the path of coming from the CFL, where he was a quarterback and a punter, and then go into developmental hockey. And he was a very good hockey official before deciding to go to umpire school. Give me your initial thoughts when you learned about the passing of Jim McKean today, Dale.
Well, I've known Jimmy obviously a long time. I came to the American League in 1986. I only worked with him one full season. I had the All-Star Game, like you said, with him, and then every once in a while maybe it was moved to his crew here and there. But the 95 season that I worked with him was the season coming off of the lockout after the 94 season. So we didn't start until, the first week of May. So that was a strange season. That was also the first year that I had postseason. I remember, I'll never forget, we were working with Jimmy Joyce and Vic Voltaggio on that crew, and we were at Yankee Stadium in September when the assignments came out. Now, back then, the assignments by contract had to be out, I believe, on September 10th for the entire postseason. Of course, it's much different now, but we were in New York, and I remember the call comes in the locker room, and Jimmy's on there, and actually this was when they were going to have a a potential one-game playoff between the Mariners and the Angels, and so they were making contingency plans for who may work the one-game playoff and that kind of stuff, but. I was scheduled to work my first postseason that year. Divisional series ended up being the Mariners and the Yankees, although I didn't know it was going to be the Mariners, until right before it happened, frankly, because of their playoff game with the Angels. And so Jimmy the call came in, and Jimmy, you could hear him say, "Yeah, okay, all right, I'll go there." And he looked at me at Vic, and I think he said to Vic, "No, Vic, you're okay. Okay, Jimmy, you stay here, and Dale, you're going to be staying here." I was like, "What are we doing now?" Because let's face it, it's my first postseason assignment that I knew was coming up. I was a little nervous anyway, and now there's a possibility I have to work a one-game playoff or something, but it wasn't that wasn't the case. But Jimmy was a very, very funny guy. He had a quick wit, quick sense of humor, and practical jokes were something that he just enjoyed doing, and that's, of course, he was trying to screw with us a little bit on that phone call, because he was trying to act like we're all going to be, ready to the West Coast to work a one-game playoff or something. Of course, that didn't happen. But I had a great time that year with Jimmy. Jimmy Joyce was on that crew. Of course, Joyce and I are real good buddies, and that was a lot of fun working with him. And it was the only time, frankly, in my career that until 2000 that I was not a four-man. That one year I was a three-man. So I guess that helps. I don't know.
We're talking about the life of Jim McKean. 5 ALCS, 3 World Series, and 3 All-Star games, one of which you were on the field with in one of the most famous All-Star game incidents of all time, when Randy Johnson faced John Kruk. You were at the left field line. What did McKean talk about in the locker room about that situation?
Well, we were all laughing. I mean, everybody was laughing, and that's one of the beauties of the All-Star game. It's a little bit more lighthearted, especially now that and back then when that didn't mean anything. It didn't mean any home field advantage or any of that stuff. But it was unbelievably hot in Baltimore that year. It was a big-time heat wave that had been coming through the eastern seaboard there, and it was so humid, and there was no breeze, and it was just, you were cooking out there. And so Jimmy was before the game was in a Jimmy McKean Canadian kind of way. So anything below he was telling us anything below 85, and us Canadians start melting. I said, well, you're going to be a blob of mess on the plate then, because it's hot out there. We came in after the game, and we were laughing with the the Kruk incident and with Randy Johnson. And to this day, I don't know if John, and I'm sure he'd say he was just doing it for fun, but I really honestly don't think he wanted to face Johnson at all. And that was kind of shown in that incident.
Yeah, interesting story. McKean goes to umpire school in 1970. He's an American League umpire in 1974. That's even quicker than you.
Well, good for me. I didn't realize that, quite frankly. I certainly didn't remember that. That is quick. That's very quick. Of course, obviously the setup back then in the minor leagues, I mean, even back when I was in the early 80s was a lot different than it is now. But Jimmy was a heck of an athlete. I mean, I always used to tell him, I said, Jimmy, the reason you are a quarterback and a punter is because you could never get a first down and you had to punt. And he would tell me to go do something to myself. But he was a heck of an athlete. I mean, like you said earlier, he played football. He was a hockey official. Those guys still amaze me to this day. A hockey official, I don't know. They do everything that they do in a fast moving sport, and they do it all on ice. Hello, that just blows my mind. But Jimmy could do it all, and of course, then after his career on the field, he was a supervisor for several years. So, baseball lost a good guy, Jimmy McKean. And, it's sad, but he had a heck of a life and a heck of a ride. And I'm so happy to be even just a little part of that.
Dale, if I could just get you to sum up the life of Jim McKean. You mentioned it's just an amazing career in 3 different sports. He's able to accomplish so much. And as you mentioned, you obviously read through my notes here where I was going to tell you, ask you about him being a supervisor. Did he ever give you any advice when he went into the supervisory role from 2002 to 2010?
Well, he told me never to go out there without my cup, which I enjoyed. It was the worst advice. I didn't really need that, but it's nice to remind guys. Jimmy always had a way. Even when I worked with him in '95, if you're walking off the field after maybe not the most stellar game or just had a lot of stuff happening or whatever, and he always had a way of kind of breaking everything, especially if you're kind of down. And I was a young umpire then, and I was down because I didn't feel I had a good play game or something. He always had a way of just breaking that elephant in the room and throw out a joke or say something or do something funny and just get you out of your doldrums a little bit. And that's being a crew chief, and I learned this from a lot of crew chiefs that I worked with, is it's not just being the guy to make sure we're on time and handling situations or going to the headphones or whatever. There's a lot of depending on who you're with and the personalities of who you're with, of kind of guiding guys, especially young guys, and to maybe do things just to keep their mind off of something, or to divert their attention, or to focus on something, and all that stuff. A good crew chief is able to do those types of things besides all the the nuts and bolts of baseball umpiring. So Jimmy had that knack of able to do that, and that's very important.
Dale, I can't thank you enough for joining us. Jim McKean passes at the age of 73, a legendary American League umpire. Dale, thanks again.
Thank you, guys.
That wraps up this edition of the Plate Meeting on Close Call Sports. Until next time, happy umpiring, everyone. We leave you today with this picture tribute and one last Take Me Out to the Ball Game for Jim McKean.